Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. Today we are kicking off our Woodland Animals series. Over the course of the month, we're going to be painting bear, moose, rabbit, and cardinal. Thank you to everyone who voted. By the end, you should have a complete set of woodland animal portraits. For all of these portraits, I'm going to be using 140-pound watercolor paper and doing miniature portraits that are 4x6 inch. You'll also want a sketching pencil, any kind will do, and along with that, a little pencil sharpener and a kneaded eraser. You'll also want an artist's brush in black that's to the left of the pencil. For the watercolor bit, I'm going to be using black, navy blue, and a golden yellow for our bear today, and I'll also be using a number 6 round brush. Another item that we're going to be using today that is specifically for our bear is rubbing alcohol in a spray bottle. We're going to spritz some of that onto the painting to create a furry texture. You'll also want some water and paper towels. All right, I think that's everything. Why don't we get started? All right, to begin, we're going to take our sketching pencil and lay down a simple line drawing of our bear. All right, so the first thing that I'm going to do is find the center of my paper, like so. I'm just going to try to eyeball it, line up my pencil horizontally, and then I'm going to take my index finger and find the center of that, place my finger there, and draw a small circle with a little wing on either side of my index finger. So you're going to want to have those wings mirroring each other, and those are going to be the eyes for our bear. And as I'm doing this, I'm trying to make the features as symmetrical as possible. They don't have to be perfect, but pretty close to symmetrical. So don't be afraid to make adjustments. Like here, that eye was a little bigger than I wanted, so I'm just gonna erase it and adjust until I'm satisfied. But just try not to get too caught up in making it absolutely perfect. Okay, next we're gonna draw on the nose, and to find the right placement for it, I'm going to draw kind of an invisible triangle starting from the outsides of the eyes, and where those two meet, I'm going to draw the top of the nose, and I'm going to make kind of a rounded off squarish rectangle that would be about the width between the eyes. The eyes and the nose will be the anchors that we build the rest of our drawing around. Next, we're going to make the muzzle, and we're going to make kind of a rounded off triangle starting between the eyes and going down just below the nose. And I want you to pause for a moment now and notice kind of the pear shape of the muzzle, because that shape is going to be echoed throughout the rest of our drawing. We're actually going to repeat that around the entire face. So I'm going to make an arc right over the width of the eyes. And from there, I'm going to break up the shape a little bit. And starting from the outer corner of the left eye, I'm going to make kind of an L around the left side of the muzzle, and then I'll do the same on the right side. So you see that shape is repeated, it's just broken up a little bit around the eyes and below the nose. And we're going to do that again. I'm making a slightly wider arc over that first arc I laid down, and then I'm going to make a slightly wider L on the left side and another one on the right side. So see, we've made that shape again. We're just nesting those lines. Now for the ears, we're going to make kind of an elongated bell shape. And I like to draw mine so it's diagonally aligned with the eye, and the base of the ear is just a little bit wider than the eye. And that right ear got a little wonky, so I'm just going to erase it and try again. So remember, erasers are there for a reason, and there is no harm in trying again. All right, much better. I'm satisfied with that. Now to finish off the neck, I'm going to make another large L starting just above the base of each ear and nesting around the others. For the shoulders, I'm going to make a smaller L that starts just at the outermost curve of the neck. And we'll finish with 2 rounded off vertical lines that start at the curve of each shoulder. Now, if you've made it this far, congratulations. You've completed what I consider to be the hardest part of this portrait. I'm just doing one last visual check here to ensure that the negative space on either side of the bear is about equal, and it is. So let's move on to our watercolor. Now for this first layer of watercolor, I'm going to load my brush with water and a lot of navy blue, and I'm going to trace over all of the lines with navy blue, with the exception of the eyes and the nose. Leave those alone. We don't want to trace over those with navy blue. But all the other lines trace over with navy blue. And I typically reload my brush with a little bit of water and a lot of paint every couple of strokes just to ensure that the concentration is about right. And I'm gonna keep doing this until everything is covered, again, except the nose and the eyes. Okay, once all of our lines are covered in navy blue, I'm gonna load my brush with water and I'm going to run it along the curves of each line to fill in that white space. You notice how when I run the brush along the curves of the lines that the color kind of bleeds out and fills in a little bit? That's exactly what I want. So I'm gonna do this for everything except the nose, the eyes, and that muzzle at the center. We're gonna leave those alone, but everything else gets filled in, including the ears. Once all the spaces have been filled, you're gonna let this layer dry. It should only take a few minutes, and then we're gonna move on to our second layer. For the second layer, we're gonna repeat that same process, except this time using black watercolor. So I'm gonna put a little water on my brush. I'm gonna load up with quite a bit of black watercolor, and I'm gonna trace over all of those lines with the exception of the nose and the eyes. And remember, you're probably going to want to reload with water and color every couple of strokes. And once again, after you've finished tracing over your lines, you're going to load your brush with water and follow the curves of those lines to bleed out the color and fill in the spaces between the lines. And remember, we're going to leave the eyes, nose, and muzzle white for the time being. All right, so once the black has been blended into the bear, and while the watercolor is still wet, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna grab that rubbing alcohol. And I'm just gonna do a couple of spritzes onto this bear and, try to like aim appropriately, unlike me. But just, we don't want it too heavy, just a couple of light spritzes and see how it gives kind of that furry, fuzzy look. That's exactly the texture we want. We're gonna let this dry and then move on to the next step. All right, this next step is pretty straightforward. We're just gonna fill in the muzzle with some of that yellow gold watercolor. So for this, I just take a little bit of that yellow gold paint and I put it at the very top and I clean off my brush and then I just spread that yellow paint down the muzzle because we don't want it to be too vibrant. It's supposed to be kind of subtle. But once it's nice and covered, then just let it dry and we'll move on to the eyes and nose. For the eyes, we're going to want to take our brush and load it with a little bit of water and quite a bit of black. And then we're going to just fill in this circle right here that we drew for our eye. Just fill that in entirely with black. And you might notice that on this first eye, I've been going a little bit slowly, and that's because I did get a little too much water on my brush. And so I'm trying to be careful so that the color doesn't run all over the place and that I can still make a nice, tight, rounded circle. Once you've got the eye about how you want it, go ahead and trace over that little wing that we drew in. And that gives the bear this eyelid. And you can kind of round out the eye a little bit more if you want. Just work with it a tiny bit, make those little adjustments until you're satisfied, and then move on to the next one. And so, of course, this is the same thing. You're going to fill in the circle with all black, make that little wing, and then make those small adjustments to the eye as needed. All right, I'm satisfied with the way these eyes look, so now I'm going to move on to the nose. For the nose, again, I'm loading my brush with a little bit of water and quite a bit of black so we have a nice, bold, concentrated color. And I'm just gonna fill in that square that we drew at the beginning. So now that I filled in this bear's nose, I'm thinking it should maybe be a little bit bigger. So I'm just going to bring that bottom part of the nose down just a little bit. Remember, you can always make adjustments. The beginning sketch is just kind of a guide, and you can go outside the lines if needed. And with that, the watercolor portion of our portrait is complete. So now we're going to move on to the artist's pen portion for some outlining and defining. And I said artist pen, but this is actually an artist brush. It has ink in it, but it has a brush tip, as you can see. So for this step, I'm just doing a simple outline of the bear. And I'm not trying to really smooth out anything. I kind of want some of those natural bumps that occurred with the painting. But this just really helps the bear pop off the page and gives it even more contrast and sharp definition against the white. Now from here, I'm going to deepen the black in some of those lines on the very edge of the bear, and make those the darkest and thickest. And then I'll work my way in towards the face, and I'm just going to lightly retrace some of those lines in the face, throughout the body, and just create a little extra definition. And I don't want to go, too dark or too big. This is just to kind of complement the bear and finish off the piece. And I'm not going even the full length of each line. I'm even letting things be broken up a little bit. It's, again, supposed to be kind of subtle the closer you get to the middle of the face, because I don't want it to compete with the eyes and the nose, which are the focal point. And as I'm finishing up our adorable woodland bear, I just want to say thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed part 1 of our Woodland Animals series. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you want to paint the other 3, hit that subscribe button. Thank you so much for creating with me today. Until next time, take care.